Oh, hey, buddy. Oh, y'all got a whole corner to yourself. It feels weird Bob not being here, though. Yeah, he is.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Homestead-Miami Speedway. We're going to go ahead and get started with our media availabilities for the day. We're now joined by Chandler Smith, driver of the number 38 Front Row Motorsports Ford. If you have a question for Chandler, please raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you. We're going to start right here with Zach.
Zach Sturniolo, NASCAR.com. Chandler, 3 top 10s to start the year. How have you felt like you've adapted back to the truck series, and particularly with this team, especially as quickly as everything came together?
Yeah, especially that last point. It came together. Lord, I think we finally finished the hiring process probably 2 weeks before Daytona, maybe a week and a half before Daytona on our last guy. We didn't get our crew chief hired till maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks out of Daytona. So definitely was very last minute, but I couldn't be happier with the group that we assembled, honestly. I mean, it's turned out great. Everybody's working together great. We've got really fast trucks. We've got a lot of motivated individuals that's on our team. And, I feel like, in the position that I'm in, I kind of looking at this as kind of help build this program up a little bit, right? So I've kind of taken it on my shoulders a little more to step up to that role even more than I have in years past, just like last year being at Gibbs, right? Well-established and respected organization. It's kind of just a plug-and-play deal. This was not a plug-and-play deal. This was a lot more than just that. So definitely been an experience. I wouldn't change it for anything, and I'm super grateful for the opportunity that Bob Jenkins and Jerry Freese has given me.
We'll go to Mike Bagley.
Mike Bagley, Motor Racing Network, Sirius XM. Now that you're back in the truck series after spending time in the Xfinity series, do the trucks drive the same that you remember them before? Have you had to adjust anything in what you do as far as input into the truck is concerned to get all you can out of it?
They're definitely different than the Xfinity cars. They drive the same as what they did a few years ago when I was in them. Obviously, I'm driving for a different organization. They have different approaches on, setups and just different approaches on how they build their race trucks compared to where I was in years past. So it's been adjusting to that a little bit and kind of, taking what's worked for them in the past and what's worked for me in the past in different organizations and kind of bringing it together and coming up with an even better product, right? And that's kind of where we're at right now. So I felt like Las Vegas was our first race. It was a good read. Felt like me and Lane both got a really good data point of kind of where we were and what we needed to do. And, my crew chief, John Leonard, we both talked and had some great ideas going forward, and hopefully we can see how good they turn out today. We implemented some changes. So but yeah, no, it's definitely a lot different than what I've been accustomed to for the past 2 years.
Go to Steve Post.
Steve Post, Motor Racing Network. Chandler, what's your expectation of tonight? What does your truck need to do tonight to succeed here at this racetrack with so many variables, so many grooves, so many options? What's your truck need to do to give you the best shot tonight?
Just needs maneuverability. I mean, that's all truck racing is now. You running so much throttle time, which granted you're not going to have a bunch of throttle time here at Homestead, but to go after the pole in 3 and 4, you're going to be barely lifting it all, right? So you're still running a lot of throttle time. So being able to have good maneuverability, good lateral grip is pretty key for here.
Alex Hayden, Motor Racing Network, NASCAR Racing Network. It is the NASCAR Racing Network. When you look at what you're doing now, you're more mature as a race car driver, more mature as an individual. Do you take more of a leadership role now in your feedback? Do you have more confidence when you give that feedback to your team?
Yeah, for sure, just because I've worked with so many great individuals in my past 5 seasons in NASCAR, right? I've learned a lot, I've seen a lot, I've experienced a lot, and have had great mentors, through that whole process, right? So I'm definitely more confident in myself in knowing what works, what doesn't work, what works for me, and what may not work for others, and trying to come to a happy medium of having a good product.
We'll go to Chris next.
Chris Wilner with MRN. Let's talk about the art of riding the wall here. Differences in approaching it between the Xfinity car and the truck, and what are the advantages and maybe sometimes disadvantages of doing that?
Yeah, so an Xfinity car, I feel like it's more of a given than it is in a truck. The composite bodies, you could beat the crap out of them and be fine. In a truck, you go and hit it, you could end your day right there. We seen it, my last full-time season in trucks, John Hunter was on the cut line, and went and hit the fence in turns 3 on like lap 4, and he was done. And that's your season right there, right? So we're not in that situation. Like if it calls to there's speed up on the fence and Larson's really ripping it and there's a bunch of speed up there, then yeah, I mean we're still in the regular season. Why not? But I don't know, for a truck it's just risk versus reward, right? We're in an Xfinity car. It's kind of double-edged too, right? Like last year, some of the really good guys were able to rip the fence, but Austin Hill kicked our teeth in running the bottom in an Xfinity car. Like you don't see that anymore. So it all depends on what your race vehicle's kind of the balance of it.
Go to Brian next.
Brian Twining, Bettsburg's Media Group. Chandler, with Kyle jumping down into the Truck Series race tonight and Xfinity this weekend, for that matter, does it change your mentality just kind of knowing that he is a heavy favorite to win the race? And are you coming in with tempered expectations as to what a successful race would be? Yeah,
I still want to beat him. Yeah, the goal is still the same. It's the same even with when KB comes down. At the end of the day, we're all racers, and I feel like I've kind of proven where I kind of stand in this sport right now, and I feel like if we have a good truck, we can go out there and compete.
Any additional questions? Okay, we'll go back to Brian.
And then follow up, are you expecting the track to race any different with us coming here in the spring, like 5 months before we normally do, and the fact that it hasn't been sitting out in the sun all summer? Yeah, for sure, especially it being a night race too. Usually the truck race is in the middle of the day, and it don't matter what racetrack you go to, it's going to swing from being out in the sun from not being out in the sun. So I think it'll race a lot different than what we've seen in years past. I think it'll be very similar to what it was in 2020 and years previous. But I'm excited for it. I think it's going to make for a good product for tonight, honestly.
Go back to Zach.
You mentioned you and Lane getting good data points last week at Las Vegas. How does that give you more confidence going into another mile and a half a week later? And you mentioned you guys were already able to implement some changes based off what you saw last week.
Yeah, just knowing where our mile and a half program really is. You know, we've had those first 3 races that were kind of first two races that were just speedways, and it's kind of what it is, right? So it was a good benchmark of like, okay, this is where we're at with our aero, this is where we are with mechanical grip, and those deltas between the two of what we're trading off, and just kind of dissecting each different piece of approach of why we get to where we are in a package. And I felt like we got a really good data point of where we were and what we needed to work on. And we implemented some changes for this weekend, which I think we'll be able to see a little bit of those, but I don't know that, it's more of a, when we go to like Nashville or Charlotte and place like that is really where that would show up.
And you mentioned too that when Larson and Busch come down, it's still the same goal, obviously, but is there anything, if you find yourself behind them, is there anything that you look for in how their trucks are handling or how they're driving them that gives you sort of an idea of, well, maybe I should try that, that maybe you wouldn't get from another competitor on the track?
Just being more mindful of, paying attention to their detail and trying to dissect, why did they do that? Why did they take that certain line? Why did they straddle that seam that way? What did that do to their car position and their car angle, right? And also, being mindful that I'm going to have to probably work harder to pass them. Like, they're going to be good. I'm not bashing people in the truck series, but like this is the kind of feeder series Xfinity, and Xfinity's feeder to truck or cup. So it's kind of the bottom of the totem pole and experience. So you're going to have to work at it a little harder to pass those guys that's, won cup championships.
Any final questions for Chandler? Oh, I'm sorry, Deb. Yep.
That's okay. I'm used to being a double. Chandler, Deb Williams, Auto Week. You mentioned there about the difference of the way the trucks and the Xfinity cars drive and also building the team. And then you said it's definitely a lot different than what you've been in the last 2 years. Can you expand on that more than just those two?
Which part? The driving differences or the team aspect differences?
Both.
Both? Well, as far as driving differences, it's night and day different. A truck's got a bunch of downforce, a lot of rear side force, and an Xfinity car hardly has, doesn't even have close to as amount of just overall downforce that a truck does. So right there alone is pretty much it. And then the obvious is I'm racing a truck, and Xfinity is a car. So the body differences and whatnot too. So the organization standpoint, it's just a lot different because Gibbs ran more corporate, is the best way to put it, and Front Rows ran more of a grassroots race team is the best way I can explain it. So definitely two complete different polar opposites from each other, but I'm having an amazing time at Front Row, and I had an amazing time at Gibbs. So.
Well, Chandler, thanks so much for coming in, and good luck this
Yep.
weekend.
Thank you, guys.